Okay, so it's about 20 till 10 p.m. And just wanted to update because the pattern you talked about, I don't know the specific rule as far as if it matches the quote unquote head of a Head and Shoulders. If that's invalid at that point, I mean, it's usually breaks it. Well, there we go, it's broken. Um, so that's out and just happened. And what I was going to point out before it just happened is that possibly this is a 1 minute chart here. If you were to at this point change this yet, we got acceptance down in here that you want to look to, going to maybe go to the under end of this possibly. So I'm not saying to get short or anything like that if you wanted to, but that was sort of the idea. If we broke this, then the Head and Shoulders is off, and then it probably would be, sideways to down. Let me look at the profile again. When I say that sideways part, I thought was a little higher up. Yeah, I was talking about it building out this way. So, but when you get into, as I've mentioned before, you get into one of these areas, get acceptance in it. Not saying we are totally, it's just because one of the games is the stops from today, the A low, that's that quote unquote game is over. So I'd want to zoom out a little bit and see what we've got going on as far as to the left of us. And so right here where the overnight low is, we've got this C low. We get a lot further downside. I guess it's debatable. But don't forget, something to bear in mind is we've had a lot of stuff that the market is likely to come back and revisit going way back, and is going to get too tiny here. But we've got some poor lows and just some other things that just usually the market comes back to. So anyway, that's just the update. Now there's a pattern that I don't see very often, and I don't really. It's probably better to do this on a 30-minute chart. So let me pull this in. I was wondering if this might form. Is that what we're looking at is possibly an expanding. Let me see here. Make this a little smaller so I can get my tool array. An expanding triangle. Now, either way, you've kind of got a trend line there, that ties in with that C low from way back here, which I believe is this right here. So, how far is it going to go? I don't know, but we're kind of one-time framing down, which is, in this case, there's a bearish thing. But, it's been rotational somewhat on the 30-minute bar anyway. And, I believe, this is my stochastics here, I believe. Yeah, stochastics here is, it's down this area, and if it's going to stay rotational, it'll start to point up. And this doesn't necessarily bode well for the downside, but it doesn't mean to continue either. It means to, in my opinion, it's kind of a warrant caution here. But it could go on forever. It could stay down here all night and keep going down all night. So I don't know. Is that all I've got for now? I can get rid of this pad. I'll leave it up in case I want to talk about it a little tomorrow. But yeah, so if you want to look out the rules for expanding triangle, that might be one for you. I haven't broken it down to smaller time frame to see the exact structure of it. Let's see, where is it from? I don't know, may not be done forming yet. So yeah, just something to be aware of if you want to look into that and if you don't know enough about them. They're a pattern that I believe is not super common. I do remember that about it. So now notice how we stopped on this trend line very nicely. Is that going to remain the overnight low? I don't know. I don't think it's quite the C low yet. Just a minute. Let's see how nicely this lines up. I think it will perfectly, eh? Nope, not quick. Not quite. One more tick. and the CeeLo can get taken out, and maybe get a little pop down from there. We're in like what might be called a suction area, to where we're gonna maybe continue on to the downside. I haven't thrown a fib on here to get an idea, but it looks like 786 from Friday's low, possibly. Let's go here. Well, as they say in the Dr. Phil show, how about that? To the tick. To the tick. Yeah. That kind of thing, had I been anticipating it, that can be tradable. You've got this potential trend line, and you've got the CeeLo, you got the 786. You could see a little pop up from there. And again, mostly what I talk about in here is reversals, mainly because the market does a lot of rotating. But there's obviously other trades. There's you can go with, and reversals can be very tricky. So going forward, basically it's whoever's got the most trades wins. I don't have really an idea of what's most likely to happen. Well, you know what? I kind of do. Right now, the odds seem to be in the favor of it's going to continue lower. One-time framing, we had an inside bar in X, broke out to the downside. Of course, it would need to continue to build value here, and sellers need to stay in control. What I would look for continued downside is a new TPO in 14 minutes that does not close this little distribution here, that leaves these letter A's there by at least one tick between the, well, I was easily looking at the X, but the F low here, you want at least one tick there. Well, I mean, it can be to the X as well, but it'd be more bearish to have at least one tick space, not get equal to the X. I'm sorry, the W or the X. That's what I'm trying to say. So, all right. So yeah. So I guess the odds would seem to be sideways to lower yet, and see what happens as some of these other markets open up, tonight. And then of course fundamentals can always make the difference here in a moment's notice. So, all right. Well, I guess that's all I got. I need to go up the Wooden Hill to Bedfordshire and be rested for tomorrow. So, one thing you could look for if you think it might go up is, I could really see a head and shoulders forming here, and if it looks right, looks the way I've talked about them, looking in as far as the dynamic and structure here and everything. Unless you get an even neckline here against the top, you got to be careful, because sometimes you could trade right into resistance. So be watching the order book and see if they're stacked up there. You do want to trade it like that. And actually, a better situation would be to let it break and then just be patient and wait for the market to come back to you. That's a better way to play most trades. Not all, but most of them, in my opinion. It's always just my opinion, but I could be right. How about that? So yeah, it looks like they're taking it down yet another notch here. So don't know. All right. Well, sleep well, and see you in the morning.